Hello, welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. This is Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. We are editors over at Mavs Moneyball. We are joining you on Thursday, February 8th, trade deadline day at 9:20 p.m. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm actually really good. This is this series of early games and getting to bed on time has resulted in just me feeling good, and you know we're gonna be here. So, for full disclosure of everyone, you know, I know a lot of people are asking me, Kirk, why didn't you and Josh go live during the day right after trade deadline? Well, the main reason is we have jobs, and these are not our jobs. This is our lightly compensated hobby, which we do for fun. So we're gonna get to the trades because we know lots of people probably want to talk about those trades. But first, we do think it's you know in everybody's interests. Since we always recap the game, we're going to talk about the Mavs-Knicks game a little bit, and then we will lead into that trade discussion. So the Dallas Mavericks just defeated the New York Knicks 122-108 in a game that felt a little like a trap game, but not really because the Knicks are super duper hurt. White Dante, as Bomani Jones calls him, lit up the Mavericks, but he's been lighting up everybody for several weeks now. But it didn't really matter because Luka Doncic had 39 points, 11 assists, 4 steals, a block. Maxi Kleber turned back the clock to have 4 blocks on the Knicks. Derrick Jones Jr. probably played one of his more complete games in several weeks. It was a nice win that the TNT announcers, if you had the box score covered up, the TNT announcers did a really, really good job of trying to make it seem like a very big game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they kind of knew the crappy hand they were dealt when they saw the injury report.
It was a fun game.
Yeah, it was. They're professionals. They had to sell that. That's part of their job. But yeah, it was. I mean, this was a game. The Knicks were almost too hurt, like for even the worst Mavs tendencies to really make a difference. I mean, in the second half, Hartenstein, their center, didn't play because of an Achilles injury. It didn't seem like a serious one, just like it looked like a maybe hopefully mild. Didn't look like he tore it or anything, but they're just taking precaution. They had 2 guys available on the bench for the entire second half. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have, much to go with. I mean, they played, their starting lineup, everyone in their starting lineup played at least 39 minutes or more, 39, 43, 45, 41.
That's Thibs though for you.
Yeah, I know. But it was exasperated with what their roster was going through. So,
for sure.
You could tell toward the end that team was exhausted. They had 14 turnovers. So the Mavs just had to
outlast.
Outlast. I think the first thing that jumps out to me, there are some good things we can talk about, but the first thing is Luka played 40 minutes again.
I think he wants to at this point.
Maybe he does, but he has now played 40 minutes or more in 5 out of the last 6 out of the last 7 games, and actually 7 out of the last 9 games he's been 40 minutes or more. And that's, if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. If the coaching staff, but and I get people telling me like, well, with Kyrie back, it's not, the workload's not the same. He's still playing for it, but like that's fine. Why that makes a difference. Yeah, that makes a difference. But like 40 minutes in an NBA game is still 40. Like they gotta find a way to get him some games where he's just not playing 40 minutes. I don't know what they got to do. Maybe they do have to sit him. Like I know everyone hates the sitting of stars, but I'm just saying if he averages 40 minutes in the month of February, which he's doing right now, he averaged 38.8 in the month of January. I don't care how good a shape he is. I don't care how good the workload is. That's gonna catch up to you. Oh, and he averaged 39 minutes a game in December. So like
I'm pretty sure he's leading the league in
Yes,
minutes.
he's leading the league in minutes. It's really commendable, and I think it's awesome because I think he took last season. It's obvious he took last season personally,
Yeah.
in terms of how it ended and the embarrassment of missing not only the playoffs but missing the play-in. And I think the games that he missed, I'm sure he was frustrated seeing how many games he missed and still feeling hurt and worn down by the end of the year.
Sure.
So he's obviously taken his physical conditioning more seriously because if he was in the shape that he was in last season and he was having this minutes load, I don't know if he would be make it to All-Star break. So, it's not that I'm trying to say like the sky is falling or Luka's going to get hurt or something's bad, but like they got to figure out a way to find some balance there and play just a little bit less minutes because that's the main thing. Like because they tried, and you know what? Kid tried the fourth quarter. They were up 20, and it got down to 12 in like 2 minutes. And Kid actually looked kind of pissed off and called a timeout and had to put Luka back in the game. So it's not one of those things where Kid just has him on the floor and you're like, take him out. The way the team's playing, it's hard to find him sometime off the floor. So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I liked Josh Green's game tonight.
Yep.
Gave the Mavericks that just the extra I'm gonna run really damn hard is fantastic. And I'm really enjoying watching, him lead breaks and push off the break. He had a pair of moves in the first half, like a rim rocking dunk after like 4 back-to-back turnovers between the two teams. That was pretty fantastic. And then later he had a right-handed layup from the same spot on the floor that was really like he did a Euro step that led to that layup with the scoop over the top. And we're kind of hard on Josh because his contributions sometimes seem to wax and wane despite the minutes that he gets. And I don't know. I liked his defense tonight. Something else we've been critical of. So it was good to see him.
Yeah, no turnovers.
Yeah, which is a big deal. The vibe of the team felt a little different, obviously, because there's a trade, and we'll get the why, and we'll talk about that once we talk about the trades a little more. But just pretty interesting to me, just in a nutshell, that they were able to keep Josh Green because I think his go element that he brings is pretty valuable to this team, which is there's a lot of like, I don't want to say like plotting guys. That's not right, but nobody else plays at that speed.
Stationary might be a better word for those guys. Not play. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely right. And kind of playing off that, he played really well and he had 6 rebounds, which was also nice. A steal and a block. Like it's always nice when he fills up the stat sheet because there just feels like nights where he just it's not there. So he's been pretty consistent with that. So I agree. I liked his game. Kind of on the same token, Derek Jones Jr. also kind of came back in a big way with 18 points, 7 free throw attempts, which tied for the team lead. And it's like, how many times has one of the Mavericks leader in free throw attempts not been Kyrie or Luka when both of those guys have been playing, the last year and a half, the last half year or whatever it's been, almost a year. It's been a year actually. So for the last year. So I thought his game was really nice. I thought, he still only made 1 3 and only took 3. But his game tonight was really emblematic of why, when we're talking about pieces that fit around Luka, and when people bring up perimeter players that have like, oh, this guy's shooting 33% or 34%, that's not a good fit with Luka. And it's like, I get that, but if a guy has a little something off the bounce, if he can do a little something attacking a closeout, driving, going towards the bucket, going towards the rim, that can counteract a lot of the shooting deficiencies that can pop up from a player that's not shooting as well that you think that you need next to Luka. Like it's not, I think the way the NBA is trending and how defenses are playing these teams, you need more than spot up shooting. We've been saying that since like 2019. You need more than guys that just can catch and shoot. And I think you're kind of seeing it with Derek Jones. You're seeing it with Josh Green. You're seeing it with Dante Exum. Just how important, just not necessarily running a pick and roll or creating something out of nothing. It's just when the ball is swung to them and there's an aggressive closeout, can you do something besides just hot potato the ball around? And you saw that tonight with Jones. I thought he was really good. First step, aggressive, catching defenders off balance that are closing out hard, putting them on their heels and just going toward the basket really strong and aggressively. He had 3 assists, 7 free throw attempts. Like for a non-Luka, non-Kyrie player to get 7 free throw attempts on this Mavs team, that means things are like really, really humming. and they look really good when those guys are able to move with the ball in their hands.
So if I had one criticism of the game, it's actually sort of with the game plan, is when the Knicks really started sending hard doubles at Luka, you got to move Kyrie out of the corner every now and again. Kyrie being in the far corner drives me fucking crazy because you're either asking Luka to get the ball to him on a crazy pass or you're hoping the ball gets there out of reversal. And it just didn't a lot of the times. Bring Kyrie up. Let him run at the nail in the middle of the floor every now and again. They did use Luka and Kyrie on a lot of screens, which I thought was really fun. They've not done that in a while. So that's, let's just balance the criticism with something interesting.
Oh, yeah, it was very good.
But I just, if you have two unbelievable ball handlers, let's use two unbelievable ball handlers. It's a concept.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
The Luka Kyrie screening thing was really, I feel like Kyrie set more screens for Luka tonight in the third quarter than he has in like the last 2 weeks of games worth if they've played together. So I think I might, we don't have to, we've got a lot to talk about with trades and stuff, so I don't want to carry on this game too much, but that's something I might look into like when we're done talking.
I would love that.
Yeah, because that was fun to watch. Yeah.
Okay, so before we head on to the trade talk, for those of you who are here in the stream, if you could do Josh and I a favor, head down and hit the like button while you're down there. Consider subscribing. We do a fair number of shows. We will also, as I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things now that my child is sleeping more, going to be doing more and more of these live shows after games. We've done one every night this week. In the previous 2 games, we're going to do one tonight as well. And what I mean by the secondary live show is it's a show where you can come and talk basketball just like Josh and I are doing here. It's a very easy link. You click through it. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your computer if you want to. You can show your video if you like. If you don't want to, we can be audio only too. I like talking with Mavs fans. I want to hear what your takes are. I want to hear what your thoughts are. We will talk tonight probably for as long as folks want to go. And it'll be good because you know what? I think if you're really excited about these trades, I think you should celebrate that. If you're really kind of fearful about elements of what it means for the Mavericks' future, we should talk about that too. If you're listening on an audio-only stream, do me a favor. Just leave us a review. Those are very important for us. We're still working out some small kinks with the Apple feed, but we'll figure that out. And anybody else that's listening or watching the video at a later date, please go ahead and leave us a comment that's not part of the live chat. Okay, now for those listening on the audio version, I'm going to drop some ads in here. If you could listen to those as well, Josh and I will be right back. Okay, so if you want to hear my trade deadline story, I'm working this morning, busy day at the old office. And I throw together, just because I wanted to have something where at Mavs Moneyball for people to comment, I put together about a 250-word post, and I just note that I don't think any trades are going to happen for the Mavericks, or if they do, it's going to be something small and kind of inconsequential. I just didn't see the juice. I didn't see. We've talked about that in here for days. And as I press publish, the Daniel Gafford news passes through the wires. And the way that was phrased by Adrian Wojnarowski was particularly interesting because for those of you who are like kind of catching up on this a day later, we didn't really know what the Mavericks gave up in terms of draft compensation for most of the day. Is that right, Josh? Is that kind of the timeline?
Yeah, I don't think we really knew. The only thing we knew was that they were trying to route draft compensation from another team to Washington. Like it wasn't going to come from the Mavericks draft capital. Like they were trying to find picks from someone else to then send to Washington. And then I don't think we knew. I think Stein or Tim McMahon, one of them, were one of the first ones to show the details. But the Mavericks kind of sent a press release because it was actually a separate transaction. They sent a press release about 2 o'clock Dallas time, which I guess was right after the trade deadline, that said they swapped their first rounders in 2028 with OKC to get a 2024 pick from the Thunder, and then that's when we knew. So, and the trade was first reported like earlier this morning, so it was like 4 or 5 hours before we really knew the full details of that trade.
So let's sort of talk about the player first. Our Gracie Villiard over at Mavs Moneyball, who is a Virginia resident, so I think she catches some Wizards games, wrote sort of a what to expect from Daniel Gafford piece. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm super familiar with Daniel Gafford. The stat that I really enjoyed was that he is 8th in the league in dunks, while Derek Lively is 7th. And my broad-based conclusions from this is that the Mavericks now have a center that if he and Derek Lively are healthy, there is no reason the Dallas Mavericks shouldn't play without a true center unless it's a tactical decision for all 48 minutes of basketball.
Correct. That's one of the biggest advantage of doing this trade. Probably the reason why they did it. I mean, how long have we been talking about backup center? I mean, we've been talking about backup center since Dirk, like since the mid 2000s. Like you think about when they had Eric Dampier and Ghana Diop, like who was the starter, who was the backup. When they had Tyson Chandler, they needed a backup center, and with Brendan Haywood disappointing at times. Like I feel like it's always been a thing. Like not only have the Mavericks always needed a center, they've also always needed a backup center.
Sure.
So Gafford's interesting. Yes, always. So what's interesting is Gafford, I think, was a lot of Mavs fans like they wanted him to be like their full like before.
How long has Daniel Gafford been a Mavs fan target?
Probably like 3 years now. And so pre-Lively, I think that was a lot of people that wanted to bring him in as like a buy low kind of starting option. So yeah, he's really fun in the sense that he's athletic as hell. Mm-hmm. He dunks and he blocks shots like crazy. I think he is he's averaging 2.2 blocks per game, career high. He's scoring 1.43 points per possession as the roll man in the pick and roll.
He might be one of the most elite, like in terms of like advanced data. I thought I saw that he might be like the most elite finisher in the league.
He's up there. I mean, he's shooting 69% from the floor. He's shooting 73% on rim runs, which is very, very good. Like you said, he's top 10 in dunks. He makes sense as a backup. As a starter, like I was never too high on the Mavericks acquiring him because he still has some weaknesses, which it's easier to get around that when he's coming off the bench, which presumably he is. He's not. His blocks are good, but his defensive numbers are not great. Again, he's been playing in Washington for most of his career, so he's never going to have really good impact defensive stats. But one of the criticisms of, he a little bit of a block chaser instead of a true maybe rim protector, like the block number might be a little inflated in terms of his actual defensive impact. Okay. But still, the Mavericks will take guys that will block like they need some guys that can block shots and make defensive plays, period, even if you give up a little bit when you don't get the block. And then another thing is he's actually not a great rebounder. He's never averaged more than 8 a game. He's averaging 8 right now in 26 and a half minutes.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I know. It's better. Yeah. Here's the thing. Everything about him is better than what the Mavericks were getting from their backups, big men positions before today. But the thing that, he's just not a start. Like, I just don't think he's a starter on a winning team, which, hey, guess what? You have Derek Lively, so he doesn't need to be the starter on your team. So the move makes so much sense now that the Mavericks have felt like they found their center of the future in Lively. And it takes away a lot of the risk involved. Although we can talk about the compensation, but in terms of the player, it's a really clean fit for the Mavericks.
Yeah, and he's young.
Yes, he's young. Cost controlled. He's on. He's getting about $13 million next season, $14 million the season after that, which is only going to look better as the salary cap rises, or even if it stays static. It's a good deal right now, so that's also important.
So, and they moved. Who went to Washington?
Rashawn Holmes, and I think just the rerouted draft pick.
Yeah, the rerouted draft pick. Well, the rerouted draft pick, which is I want to say it's the word. It doesn't really matter, but it's a 2024 pick from Oklahoma City. How the Mavericks acquired that pick is they are swapping draft picks in 2028. Hold on to that because I want to talk about that in aggregate later on.
Yeah.
The move by itself, I enjoy the move.
Yeah.
I enjoy the move. I think it's the kind of move that we thought they needed to make, but didn't know if they had the means. I do sort of like I feel a little bit bad for Rashawn Holmes because he came to the Mavericks and he basically moved off a trade kicker.
Yeah,
Like
he
he
waived his
waived it,
trade kicker. Yeah.
which meant I think he was fed one thing and something else happened.
I mean, weren't there reports that they're like the Mavericks feel like they can try Rashawn Holmes if they can't make a trade for a center, like after that deal was done or something like that.
Yeah, that was not. That leaves a funky taste in my mouth is all I'll say. I don't like that when that happens to players because you never know when stuff like that gets around. Okay, so then I ended up going to the gym. So I'm sitting on that, and I didn't even, we didn't find out about the draft stuff till later in the day, which was fine. I go to the gym. I come out of the gym to like 30 tweets tagging me with he's gone. It was like that similar to the scene in the fifth Harry Potter movie where the guy realizes that Voldemort's back, and it's like all these people going, he's gone, and it's just it's Grant Williams was traded along with Seth. Was there anybody else?
Nope, just those two.
A 2027 first round pick, top 2 protected, as we learned. More on that in a little while. For PJ Washington, who is in the first year of a 4-year deal that he signed with the Hornets in the offseason. Is that right?
Yep, making about on average like 16 a year, I think.
Yeah, and he was
I can get the numbers.
He was your guy that you just sort of were like in the middle of it was like, I don't know, 7 days into free agency, and you're like, why hasn't anybody signed this guy yet? And he became the dude that Mavs fans just sort of were like, gosh, what if we could get PJ? What if we could get PJ? And it was just sort of a recurring theme.
I feel bad.
And now here we are several months later with PJ Washington. Talk to me about his numbers. Talk to me about his fit. Jack, I wonder if Jack's going to join us. Jack Bonin, at least I hope I don't know how to say Jack's last name, even though he's worked for me for 2 years, is hopefully maybe going to be joining the show to talk about, he wrote a nice piece that's up on Mavs Moneyball as well, kind of briefly describing what he thinks the impact is going to be. But why don't you kind of walk us through, because he's been kind of one of your guys for a little while.
Yeah, I just like his versatility at the 4. He's 6'7", 7'2" wingspan. He's really athletic. Like, kind of gets lost in Charlotte a little bit, and especially like with some of the other athletes he's played with in Charlotte. Like that Hornets team has actually had a lot of like really awesome
good
dunkers,
athletes. Yeah.
Over the last like 3 or 4 years. But he's like up there. Like he's got a great vertical. He's a great dunker. Which I mean, I feel like that's another thing I've been asking the Mavericks to do since they drafted Luka is give him like explosive, athletic players that can do harm to the rim. Washington can certainly do that. He can play the 4 in the Charlotte. He's been kind of like playing 4, small ball 5. They occasionally experimented with him at the 3, but his natural position is the 4. You don't want him playing 5 unless it's like tactical, trying to gimmick something up. Like that's not his final position, because he is 6'7", he is 7'2", so it's good size for power forward in today's NBA. But he also is kind of twiggish, like slender. He's not like the strongest guy in the world, which is okay. You don't need your 4s to be Drew Goodens anymore.
He's got crazy wingspan, right?
Yeah, he's 7'2" wingspan. So
that's not like
really good.
A plus wingspan, as we all know, like the thing to go back to that where wingspan is always concerned is that the Mavericks were not interested in Desmond Bane because of his negative wingspan, meaning his wingspan was shorter than his height. And so to have most NBA athletes have a plus wingspan, bigger than their height. So if you're 6'7", then your arms is out or longer than 6'7".
Yeah.
His wingspan being
7'2",
7 inches more is quite a lot.
Yes, it's pretty good. He's kind of his game. When you describe his game, it sounds better than like, and then you go look up the stats and you're kind of like, well, why aren't his stats better? Because he's kind of really well-rounded. Like he has 3-level scoring ability in terms of he is comfortable shooting 3s. He's comfortable in the mid-range, and he's fairly comfortable at the rim. Like he's pretty good. He's pretty comfortable with the floater. He's got a good floater. And he's got a good mid-range. He's got a good turnaround in the small post where, like, if someone switches and attacks him with a smaller defender, he's fairly comfortable doing that. And he's good in pick and pop. He's good in pick and roll. The last 2 seasons, Charlotte's actually experimented with him running some pick and rolls. I looked some stats up earlier today. He ran 71 possessions last season as the pick and roll ball handler. They didn't end well, but like they tried it. So like that's something. And he had 32. He's had 32 this season. So that's actually kind of a lot for a guy like him. But he's comfortable as a roll man. He was pretty good as a roll man last season. All of his numbers are down this season, but I think that's just because Charlotte is bad and weird. And
sure, they just have weird games. I mean, Lamelo's been hurt. Yeah,
and they haven't really committed to him. They've been bringing him off the bench, but like he's got a good jump shot. It looks good. And then you look at the last 3 years, he's at 32 this year, 34 year before, 36 the year before that. Career 35.9% 3-point shooter. And yeah, some of that is definitely looks like he's playing on a bad team. He doesn't have great point guard play, but he did play for Lonzo Ball for a couple of years, even though Lonzo's been hurt. So it's not like he hasn't played next to like total scrubs at point guard. Like Lonzo's a pretty good passer when he's healthy. And his spot up shooting and his catch and shoot 3-point shooting is not great. Like it's in the low 30s the last couple of years. And you're just kind of like, why? Because you watch him and his film and his jumper looks great. I mean, he 11 days ago scored 43 points against the Jazz and made 7 3-pointers.
That was when we were all kind of like collectively like, well, we're not getting that guy.
Yeah. So like it's there. Like this is a guy that the tools are there to be a really high level NBA starter. It just never happened in Charlotte. And the risk, where the Mavs are, it makes perfect sense because they don't have necessarily the ammo to go get a bona fide guy. Like we said, when they traded for Kyrie, they have to buy low on someone and hope that he works out here. They kind of have not necessarily like a dart throw. I don't think it's that risky. Like there's enough tape on him and enough talent there that I think he's going to do okay here, but they can't get by a perfect player because they can't afford a perfect player. Because if the perfect player, perfect wing was available, there's like 8 teams that want to win games right now that have more to offer than the Mavericks have to offer in trades. Oklahoma City is one of the best teams in the NBA, and they own every draft pick for the next like 30 years. So like, if there's a good player out there, sorry, I just saw a nice comment there by Sterling.
Yeah. So Sterling, since the chat won't let me, go fuck yourself.
No, it's okay. Hey,
Isaac Harris might be a wet blanket. He's also a nice dude. I am not.
It's okay. Hey, it's all good. I'm not everything is for everyone. But yeah, basically he's a guy that like the talent and the tools look better than the numbers. And the upsell is let's put him with Luka, let's put him with Kyrie. Let's get him here in Dallas, where they have tended to get the most out of most of the role players they've signed. You look at Derek Jones, you look at Dante Exum, you look at guys before that, Dorian Finney-Smith, even Maxi's best years. So you just kind of look at that and you think, okay, if we can get that out of undrafted guys and second rounders, what if we can get this out of a guy that was, a lottery pick or a pretty high first round pick that's young, and let's see where it goes. And again, cost control. He's got a pretty decent contract for the next 3 years, so that's also helpful.
So,
sorry, I kind of rambled there.
No, that's great. I want the rambling because one of the things that I was confused by, and this is mainly just due to the way the rest of my afternoon went, was the draft compensation. So as we know, we said that the Mavericks sent a first round draft pick, top 2 protected. I'm seeing in multiple places that the Dallas Mavericks, thank you to David Sanchez in the chat for sharing the Athletics post, but did the Mavericks get 2 first rounders back?
2 second rounders back.
I'm sorry, 2 second rounders. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, they did. It's in the official press release too.
I gotta be honest, man. So everybody who knows me kind of tends to know how I react to stuff. And I had like 30 DMs and text messages of people being like, you hate this trade because of the first round pick. My initial inclination to this pick was, and we're going to talk about that in a second because a first round pick is a first round pick. Getting back 2 seconds is interesting to me. I like it. I like that more than particularly because if one of them is this year, and I'm not sure what year they are, but if one of them is this year, Charlotte sucks.
Hey, they're going to suck for a while, even if it's next year. Yeah.
So that's really, those late, that's where we get Brunson. That's where you can really get some guys. And I know a lot of our fans are probably like, why do you care about drafting so much, Kirk? Because honestly, the Mavericks are pretty good at drafting. It's
been their biggest roster wins over the last 5 years have been all from the draft.
so that's sort of where I'm at. All right. So now that we kind of we like the players,
Yep.
let me ask you this. Do you think one of the phrases that's we've uttered over and over again, does this move the needle? Does it move the needle for you this year?
This year, I don't know if it changes their ceiling too much, but before everyone kills me, it's because I still thought that their ceiling was a non-playing team, like
Okay.
in the 5 or 6 seed range. But I think what this helps is maybe gets them closer to that. And maybe this trade this year, probably the biggest thing is it adds a little stability to their floor with their injuries and stuff like that. Like just getting these two guys in here hopefully will prevent any type of collapse that we saw last season. So that's a big plus. So yeah, I don't, if they're not, the top 4 teams in the West are really good. The top 5 in the West right now are really good. So I don't know if I would favor the if the Mavericks are in the 6,
the top 4,
range,
yeah.
They're gonna play one of the best teams in the league, really.
Like I do not want to play the fucking Clippers.
That's not great.
I just can't handle it. And it feels like that's preordained at this point. Just anyway.
But yeah, for this season, I think the biggest boon is that it's gonna help the bottom from falling out.
Okay.
But also I think it's gonna help. I mean, I don't know if we can go to you next, but my big thing is how this affects them going forward. And I think that's probably the big point. But I mean, I know your take is that you don't think it changes the ceiling that much at all, right?
I could be swayed. I mean, when you go into like they're 6 games over 500 right now. We were worried about them going into All-Star break under 500. Yeah. So at a certain point in time, you got to say, all right, things feel good. Things are trending in the right direction. If they were to somehow sneak one out past Oklahoma City on Saturday, and then they better dang well close out the Wizards and the Spurs before All-Star break, talk about a great feeling. Now, if you win 2 of those next 3, still a really good feeling because you're still at that point, you're 7 games over 500. So this season, I just don't know. My initial kind of way back before the season started was I thought this team could be out of the play-in. That was sort of my hope. Top 6. Still don't know about that just because the way things are shaking out. The Mavericks have had really bad injury luck. They need to stay healthy. But when you watch a team like tonight that pulls through against a pretty feisty Knicks team, even though they're all hurt, they got something. I've been saying that for weeks, and I'm just so negative about the Mavericks year in and year out. So I feel like me actually saying I feel like they have something is of consequence. Now, maybe I'm just dead wrong, but it just be me being the positive one for a while is so odd. Now I talk to me about why you think this is a good future building move.
One, that they're both 25 years old.
Okay.
And very quietly, the roster is young. This is kind of a young team now. Mm-hmm. Remember, we joked about, like when Dorian was 29 or 30 and Maxi's 30 and Powell is, I think he's 30 now. And we would joke about how it was both Carlisle and Kidd and Donnie Nelson would talk like this team was just full of 22, like everyone was Luka's age. And it was like, no, it's basically just Luka and Brunson and everyone else is close to the wrong side.
Like Jason Kidd being like, they're a young team. And we're like, no.
Yeah. Come on. But now they kind of are. They kind of are a young team. Most of their core are, besides Kyrie and Tim Hardaway Jr., like the most important players on the team are all basically 25 or younger, with Luka, PJ, Gafford, Lively, Green, Hardy. That's a lot of nice youth there. So that's one thing, and they're all cost controlled, so it's something you can build upon, and that means it's contract. Like if they do need to move these guys later, they're all on deals that are pretty reasonable and in that mid-level range that I feel like you need. Like it's really hard to make trades when all your contracts are like tied up with 2 max guys and then like a bunch of minimum guys. Like having these mid-tier contracts, I think makes it easier to do trades in the future if they need to. Maybe these guys, that's like worst case scenario if they don't turn out the way you want them to. But also because they can still do stuff, maybe not as much stuff as we thought if they kind of held on to the pick, but they can trade if things go as according to plan and they give up the 2024 pick. They can trade 2 picks this summer.
Okay.
They still have Josh Green and they still have Jaden Hardy. Who are
the Josh Green thing.
Like keeping Josh Green is a big deal. I think
big deal. Like yeah. I hate on him with just relentless fury.
But regardless of
in vain, but
regardless of how we feel, it's obvious that league wide he has something in terms of
which is actually important.
want.
You hold on, you always move them later.
Right. So the fact that they still have 2 picks, they still have their 2 young players that you would consider are their best trade chips. Like they didn't lose that much in making these deals. So that's why I think it's pretty good. Like the fact that they still have the ability to move Green for an even better piece, or they don't move Green because Green looks awesome. So they still have flexibility. Like they have more flexibility than I think we originally thought. But still, there is some downsides that we can talk about like how they got to this point and who they had to move, and how that kind of adds to the totality of what they gave up. With Grant Williams, because you kind of have to add in what they traded for Grant into this deal because he didn't even last a full season. So that's part of it, and I get that part of it. But it was nice to see them be aggressive in a way that still allows them to continue to be aggressive going forward. Like they are not done next summer. Like there is still
a roster spot today, right?
Also, yeah, who is presumably going to be filled by.
I want to circle back on that. I need to be a wet blanket for a minute.
Okay, but did you hear? Did you see what Kid said? Because I know sometimes you don't see.
Okay. Yeah, he made that kind.
Basically confirmed it.
I want to. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we're bear with me for a second. Yeah. Okay. Future first round draft compensation, the Dallas Mavericks owe this year's 2024 pick to the Knicks, assuming the bottom doesn't fall out. The 2027 pick to the first round pick to the Charlotte Hornets. 2028 pick swap to the Oklahoma City Thunder, 2029 first round pick unprotected to the Brooklyn Nets, 2030 pick swap with the San Antonio Spurs. Now, somebody today was like, where did that 2030 pick swap come from? It came from the signing of Grant Williams. That was the thing that had to happen because it was a three-teamer back with the Celtics and the Spurs in order to make some things happen. And I just got to tell you guys, when I think about the PJ Washington Grant Williams transaction as a whole, you're telling me that we traded for PJ Washington for a first round draft pick and a 2027 first round draft pick and a 2030 pick swap. That's the way the math works there. Am I right?
That is, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Kind of how you have to look at it.
I don't want to be a wet blanket. That sucks. That sucks.
Now, go ahead.
Tell me, okay, that's that. They're happy with it. I just need to say out loud that it sucks because draft capital does matter. And now, as we hit on earlier, the 2 second round picks coming back from Charlotte, which was something I didn't really factor into my analysis when I tweeted that out earlier, really does. That helps me a great deal, actually.
Yeah.
But you only have so many cards you can play.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah. And I don't think you're wrong.
Out there.
No, you're not wrong. The Mavericks, considering how much draft capital they've spent in the Luka era, you would think that they would have a more set roster. Like they're still trying to figure it out. So that's the downside. And the downside is you think about, I mean, not the downside with these 2 players specifically, but we were just talking in totality of what they've been doing. Their last 3 big ticket offseason moves. In 2022, it was Christian Wood and JaVale McGee. 2023, it's Grant Williams. Neither of those guys lasted more than a season. Mm-hmm. Wood goes, you give up a first-round pick for Wood, and he leaves out the door for nothing because he did not work. You give JaVale McGee the second biggest contract of his career at age 37 or 34 or whatever, however old he was. And he lasts 1 year, and you have to waive him, and they're going to be paying a portion of his salary for the next, I think, 4 more seasons after this one. And then you give the 2030 pick swap for Grant Williams, and he doesn't even make it to the All-Star break. And so on one hand, I appreciate that this front office does not sit on their hands compared to how maybe the previous regime did things. Because I think, remember 2019 free agency, that was the definition of them.
I mean, they wouldn't even admit that they did something wrong with that free agency. That's what's so incredible.
And I think that was our biggest criticism of that front office back then with Donnie leading the show was how they weren't proactive enough, right? Like that was the thing. They just kind of had this master plan, and if it didn't work, they're like, whatever. And that's not how you do things. So the fact that they're able to admit so quickly, hey, this isn't working, let's get it out of here and try something new. That's something that not a lot of front offices do. But on the other end of the token, eventually the moves have to work. Like You cannot keep it's great that you can move on very quickly when you make a mistake.
You better work.
You can't keep making mistakes.
These two better work.
Yes.
There's not a lot of chips left to play. Now also there's something else that plays into this. Luka was just asked about it. He says management discussed both deals with him and he readily approved of both, which Brad Townsend has a whole video of it. And there's a lot of criticism of Luka, which I find to be bullshit. But I've been trying to tell people that I don't really think Luka started to get involved until after he scored 60 points against the Knicks and looked around and was like, Jesus Christ, is anyone going to help me? I really do. I don't think until that January, because that's the first time Stein and McMahon really started talking about something. He didn't really do with the other stuff because why should he? That's the front office's job.
That stuff, yeah.
He's now saying, just the visual of Luka being like, pack him up. See you later, Grant. Thanks for wearing my shoes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, so like I said, it's great that this new front office is proactive. A lot of GMs, Kirk, we've been watching the NBA for a while. Sunk cost fallacy is a real thing with a lot of these GMs, and they get trepidatious. Look at the Chicago Bulls, the last 3 years in terms of an organization dragging its feet and not pulling the trigger and admitting when something's not working. So it is a good quality for an organization to have. Yeah, but like we said, they got to hit. These moves have to work. If PJ Washington is another Grant Williams, they don't really, there's not
much to do there
because you keep running out of wiggle room to rectify the mistake, and eventually there's no more room left, and you're done. Mm-hmm. So it's great that they were able to move on from these, and I think that's my main takeaway from today is how aggressive this front office is and realizing when something's not working and trying to fix it, but also got to get it right. It's got to work.
So there's one roster spot available, and this was just a recurring. Our chat is all over this, and I just wouldn't have predicted this. So Spencer Dinwiddie is the free agent. Is that the deal?
He was traded today, and I don't know if he's already been waived yet, but he's going to get waived. It's the
plan, though. He's going to get waived.
Yeah, because
he's at the game. He's at
Toronto, I think. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And he's sitting two rows back behind Jason Kidd. He was looking at his phone most of the game, which was really hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. And he was waived.
And so there's two players that are being heavily discussed for that roster spot for the Maverick. The other is besides Spencer Dinwiddie, the other is the other Morris twin, which no for me. It's a hard no. And to be quite candid, I'm just going to take this position right now. No, thank you to Spencer Dinwiddie either. No, I feel crazy. They moved Spencer. They moved Spencer last year, guys, because Spencer's vibes were garbage. He was giving these really long, lengthy answers that were basically trying to pass blame around, and then they moved his butt out of there. So if you're saying 30 games, Spencer Dinwiddie is going to bring great vibes. The great vibes in that other team were Jalen Brunson, not Spencer Dinwiddie. So if you really like him because you like him and you think he's fun for the team, I get it. I don't think the basketball thing is going to help the Mavericks that much. He is washed.
I know. That's what we said about when he was in Washington, though. So
it's true.
And then he came to Dallas and made every single 3-pointer he took.
That's
for 2
true
years.
Too.
I don't know. Maybe they got the magic sauce here. That part is all, I get that part of it. I just didn't think hey, the first thing they need is another ball handler, but I wonder if the Exum injury stuff
is deeper than we know. That's a good point.
So I don't think they seriously consider him if they think Exum is going to be able to close the season just fine.
That's a good take.
Because otherwise, why would you? Because Exum can totally do what he's been doing this season. Sure. If not better. So
yes, with much more force.
Yeah. And I wonder if Kidd has gotten a good look at the Jaden Hardy experience while Exum's been hurt and is nope, I do not want to go into the playoffs with Jaden Hardy as my backup point guard. Cause that's kind of what he is if Exum's hurt. Who's the first guard off the bench besides Timmy?
Know. Maybe. See, this is why Josh and I don't talk before games or before podcasts. Maybe you've convinced me. Maybe I'm all in on Woody. I'm a big vibes guy. And I'm secretly, I am pretty sure Grant Williams got packed, not just because he was bad at basketball, but because he is super annoying. Like, so annoying. Did you ever, like, he tweeted out that photo where he's like, here, y'all want to caption this? And it's like, dude, just make a 3-pointer. Stop asking for attention. Make a 3-pointer.
How much do you think Luca liked the popcorn quote that he gave to the Ringer? If Luca
As
saw it,
he's
I don't know
shooting
if he saw it.
negative 40% from 3. I mean, you know.
Yeah, for the month there or whatever it is.
It's like, I'm sure, like, you just think, again, like, last thing on Grant, and we can talk about him in the other show, but it's like, you can't put out big time leadership vibes if you suck. That's not how leadership works, unless you're like a 37-year vet who's been in the trenches. You don't get to do that at 23 and be like, let's go. No, don't do it. Just hit your shots, play basketball.
Yeah, that's tough. I feel kind of bad because I felt like, we all liked the Grant Williams move when it happened.
It did. Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that I tried to do was like temper expectations a little bit, but I don't think either of us thought it would get this bad. But it probably says something that
he'll bounce back too. I really think that. Like, he's not this bad. He just couldn't pull up, and it was only getting worse.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit in his head with the bigger contract, and they kind of told him, hey, you're one of our 3 you're the 3rd starter after Luka and Kyrie, and you have to be the defensive linchpin, which he's never been before because he got to play next to a lot of great defenders in Boston. So he's not going to get to do that in Charlotte. So best of luck to him. But apparently he's from Charlotte, so maybe a little home cooking can.
Hey, hope so. Hope so. I wish all these guys well.
He's nice. He's just
I'll one day I'll maybe one day I'll look fondly back on the Grant Williams experience, but I can promise nothing.
I don't think you will.
I can promise nothing.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. We got stuff so there's a ton of stuff up at mavsmoneyball.com. I mean, a ton of stuff. We have written this month something just like pretty absurd for us in the neighborhood. Like today, there's like 9 or 10 things. We normally only do 3 to 4 things a day. And there's just a lot of content. Head over there and check it out. Some really great stuff from the people who put in their time. They take time off work to do this sort of stuff. None of us get any money out of this. It's worth a damn. It's not worth the time we put into it. All we really do it is because we like talking about Mavs and we want to share stuff with you. So head over there and read some things. Do you have anything else before I let you go get to work?
No, I don't think so. Other than, I don't know. It's exciting. I was reminded again today that like people love the trades, man.
They do.
I tweeted a pretty innocuous Daniel Gafford, like just summary of what I thought. And it just, so like, I know Twitter doesn't matter, but like the retweets, the views, people are hungry for the trade stuff, man.
You're right about that, man.
I kind of forgot about it. But, yeah.
Well, I'm going to host a secondary show. Going to put on our
you guys have fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Fun. Everybody hang out. And I'm going to post the link here in a second. I'm going to put our ridiculous rights-free music up on top of the video. I'm going to go pour another glass of water, and I'll be right back. Thanks so much for those of you listening on the audio feed. The Mavs Party Show will be up on Friday afternoon, and then we'll be back Saturday as well. So everybody hang out for just a minute. I will be right back. Welcome one, welcome all, welcome back to Mavs Party, part of Pod Maverick. This is our post-game fan show where you get to come up and talk a little basketball with me, which might not be your cup of tea, but if you have a take you want to get off your chest, I really do recommend this. It's so much more fun to actually speak about basketball to another human being than it is to type about it on Twitter, on your phone, looking at Reddit, looking at YouTube. Well, I guess we are on YouTube. I want you to come up here and talk basketball with me. There is a pinned a link in the chat that you can go and click to. If you are on Twitter and want to join this, I can link you directly. Just shoot me a DM. I check those throughout this. We will be here for as long as folks have opinions and want to talk about the Mavericks. It's only 10 o'clock. I would like, I can get at least another hour. But if anybody wants to come up, please go ahead and click that link. We got our usual entry correspondent Brian hanging out tonight. I'm literally going to start referring to you as a correspondent because you come up here every night. So yeah, guys, go ahead and click that link. Please join the show. I would really, really appreciate it because I like talking hoops with you. Brian, what's going on, man?
That's funny. I like being the cold bear to your John. Man, I'm excited.
Are you excited? Talk to me. Which one is more for you?
Of the two trades? Oh man. I honestly think that. So I'm gonna zag. I know which player I've been more adamant about us bringing in, and who I'm like more excited to see play. But that Gafford deal, dude, on a couple of different levels, right? Because it was only getting off of Holmes' bad salary, which I do hope he's able to rehab his rep a bit in Washington. I know he's not going to get like a whole lot of eyeballs there, but they don't have another center, so they're going to have to play him. And I hope he's able to play well in his minutes because, yeah, I completely feel what you said at the start of the previous show where there was definitely, he was told one thing and then on the way out, it might not have been quite the same, especially with him waving his trade kicker.
Yeah, I'm messing with dude's money just sucks. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel good. But I don't think that he got all of the opportunities that he probably could have had while he was here, but we tried him out a couple of times. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Mm-hmm. We knew we needed an upgrade, and we went and got one. Not only did we get one in Gafford, we got a guy who I've been big on them going to go and get for like a year and a half now. Did it with, honestly, without touching our pool of seconds. I thought we were going to have to. We sent out a swap to OKC 2028, but we could talk about the picks in a second. I'm not worried about that 27 pick. I'm not worried about that 28 swap because those only matter if you're betting on Luka Doncic being the first player in the history of the sport to turn down that Supermax extension. And I don't think he's walking away from that money.
Yeah, I keep having this conversation. My friend Harold, who messages me, he's like, guys, really think Luka could maybe make up that money. This is a lot of pressure on the front office. I'm just like, man, I never heard of a dude making up $100 million before.
You feel me?
Yeah,
it's not like even
can.
Yeah, and I feel like he might not be able to do that. I feel like he could probably touch it just with like the fame that he has overseas, particularly in Europe, and the way that he could like do endorsement deals over there and really kind of recoup a lot of his NBA money if he doesn't, if he wants to go that route. But why do that when you could just have the best of both worlds? And so I feel like he's going to take the biggest contract he can take here and get his commercial money. But that's an aside. The Gafford deal.
Sure.
I am excited about that just because we have seen now a handful of good trades and good business done in between us and Sam Presti. And if Nico is developing a good working relationship with Mr. First Round Pick Piggy Bank Man, that can only spell good things for us. Like if we just have like kind of a give and take partnership like that. Like, yeah, we gave him a swap, but they didn't have to give up that first, even if it was protected, even if it's in the 2024 draft, which some GMs and teams like aren't valuing like that. They didn't have to give up that first and make that trade possible for us, especially with us being in their division, in their conference, right?
Potential playoff opponent.
Right. And I feel like it's kind of a had a favor for a favor kind of thing with us looking out at the draft and allowing them to jump whoever was angling to get to 11 to try and take Case and Wallace. Because I remember at the time that being what was reported, someone was going to jump to 11 and take that dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, no. So just that being able to happen and that being something that we can kind of keep our eye on in the future as far as like, okay, we know if we need to make it a 3-team deal or something, we know kind of who the usual suspects are going to be that we're going to be going to. We're going to be going to Washington. We're going to be having talks with New York maybe, and we're going to be going to OKC. And those are 3 teams with a lot of assets and smart GMs who like aren't going to screw over their teams, but are willing to do good business with you if you're not a complete dunce about it.
Sure. I mean, and the Thunder have to do something about the glut of picks they own anyways, because it becomes
Yes.
a devaluing situation if you just hold on to them till the end of time.
Yeah, I remember being mad. Mad, quote unquote mad. You remember the end of the first round of this past draft when Denver dug their hand in the Thunder's cookie jar? Like they sent them a pick. I think it was right before the draft.
Mhm.
Sent them a pick, and OKC sent them back like a future pick and a pick in the 24 draft. And yeah, that's the pick that they used to take Julian Strawther at the back end of the first round.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, that's what smart GMs are going to do. The Thunder, they cannot roster all those picks, especially the ones that are coming up in the next like 2 years.
Right.
So yeah, go talk to them
They're
and
already
get some of
fixed
those
to
picks.
pay like 37 supermax contracts at this point with all the great players they have. So
Dude, they just had to like offload and waive 4 or 5 guys today
they did.
to bring
They
back
did.
some decent players.
Poor Dave Burt is out there in Charlotte now. Hopefully, he's a man of the people out there for them.
Hey man, Big Head is a gift that keeps on giving. That contract is good. You know what I'm saying? It's maybe a guaranteed $5 million next year. So yeah, no, that thing is looking pretty enticing, and so it was definitely easy for them to move off of that. And they definitely did us a solid by allowing us to move it, open up that TPE during the draft to make the Omax and Rashawn Holmes trade possible. And now that's turned into Gafford. So, you know, good business done all around. I'm really excited for what that could spell for the future with dealings with OKC in particular. But also, dude, we don't have the worst center rotation in the league anymore. We actually have one of the best. So we're big.
You just reminded me of something. I just want to talk about it. I'm nearly 40 years old. It should not be a surprise to anyone that I have listened to Bill Simmons my entire life. Okay.
Yeah.
I've read him since I was 18. He is a
Mhm.
big part of my internet experience. I like him, even though a lot of people are growing weary of him. I turned off that trade deadline podcast that
I
he
was
did
not going to listen to it, man.
because he said early on that finding a rim rolling center is easy. And so Derek Lively, therefore, doesn't have much value to him. That's why he's not in his top 75. And then he proceeds to put Josh fucking Giddey as his 75th player. And I'm like, Giddey's not even going to play on the Thunder. He has negative value.
They had to trade for Gordon Hayward specifically because teams have been sagging off of Giddey, putting their centers on him on
He's so
defense,
bad.
and just letting him rock from the corner.
And
He's
so
not
it's
going
like,
to do anything.
and so that just made me think of it because you're right. Like the Mavericks now have the Josh and I mentioned this. I think that the fact that you can play an actual center, should you so choose, for 48 minutes of an NBA game is something we have not been able to do since before the birth of Christ. It has never happened during my time. No, it's really been since like 2002 when the Mavericks had 13 centers to throw at Shaq. It's been such a long time since the Mavericks had real centers. It's nice.
Real centers, like an actual. We'll see if he is a starting power forward. I believe PJ is a starting caliber power forward. I believe he's got that type of talent, at least offensively. On defense, I think it'll be when he is locked in, it will look good. At its floor, it's going to be better than the worst that we were getting from Grant by far. But
the wingspan alone makes a difference over
7.5 wingspan.
Over 100 possessions per game times 30 games a year. I don't know how many possessions a guy plays in a game, but if he's playing 26 minutes or 32 minutes, if he's playing, it's enough to where I'm going to sit there and say the guy with longer arms, the bigger lineup is going to be harder to score on than the smaller lineup just over the course of time. So that Luka is no longer the second biggest Maverick is important. Someone tweeted at me today, I think it was my man Jordan, who was up here on the last show. He said, we have a normal sized team now. And it's such a minor thing, but I think it matters because you don't want Luka to have to guard. Like you want to be able to hide Luka just because of his offensive burden. And it's nice that they just have some bigger guys now. I think that'll matter.
And not just like size, dude, we have bench players coming off of the bench now. We have guys who are on minimum able to slide back into the role they were like brought here to play. Like Dwight Powell getting to be like the third big who plays maybe every other game.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. He's been good for us this year. He'll be great in that role. Derek Jones Jr. gave us way more, frankly, than we deserved this season.
Right.
And he's tired out. People started trying to turn on him. I said, how quickly y'all forget what he did for us. Now he's going to be going back to a bench role where he can come in, play 3 or 5, guard, center, guard, point of attack, do whatever we need him to do off of the bench and just plug holes. and I feel like that is the perfect way to use him. And now we've got Dante Exum. If presumably if we bring in like a ball handler with our lone spot that we have left on the roster, like one of these buyout guys. People have been clamoring for Spencer Dinwiddie. I wouldn't mind that. I would prefer they go get Dylan Wright just because I think he's a better point of attack defender. And that might be what we
just
need.
bring back an old Maverick is what you're saying you're going to be fine with.
I mean, so those were the guards that I could think of that could like dribble and walk and chew gum at the same time that are on the market. Like Kyle Lowry would be nice, but
that would hurt me too.
I fear he's too washed.
Yeah, he's too washed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like guys that slotted in the roles they're supposed to be in. We have a normal looking roster with a normal looking rotation. That's a normal size now. That's fun. That's fun. That's all I have to say about that.
And before I let you go and bring up the next person, I got to tell you what would make me feel great about this whole thing and what would bring it all together is a brand new coach.
Hey man, look, you talking summer talk now because we get to the summer, right?
I'm just being a shit.
We get to the summer, say we, you know what I'm saying, we land as a 7 seed or whatever, we get into the play-in. We got 2 chances to win 2 games.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we got a new coach. We've got Josh Green, Tim Hardaway, Jaden Hardy, Omax, 2 open firsts, 4 seconds, a pick swap. We've got some assets to play.
We're just gonna coach Bud it. We're gonna say, Coach Bud, we're gonna be talking about you a little bit.
No, this Kyrie. I'm the coach. Luka's the coach. Daniel Gafford's the coach. Yeah, for sure.
What if we did make Kyrie the coach? Be like, bro, we need you for 45 games a year, but we need you to coach the other 35.
Honestly, that would be so much more fun than what we watched the first half of the season.
He's a good clapper. He's enthusiastic. He obviously knows ball. Let's do that. Like
at the very least, he'd have the dude's attention in the huddle. I know.
I think that's true. I think that might lead, like a true leadership position might spur something in him. Hey, you never know. All right, man. Thanks so much for getting us started.
Of course, dude. Thanks for having me. Happy trade deadline, everybody.
That's right. Talk soon. Yeah. Okay, coming up next is J-Max. J-Max, welcome to the show. Long time no see. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. What's going on tonight? What are you thinking?
Super happy. Just stoked about the possibilities where we're going. The guy before me said most of it.
No, let's hear it again. I want to hear what you're happy about. That's the whole point of this thing.
Well, I don't want to reiterate too much on what's already been said, but like the front office issue of it, I know what you're saying. Like, yeah, they were getting rid of assets. They did pick up Christian Wood, but I mean, they got Christian Wood and opened up 4 or 5 roster spots, and then they brought anybody they could bring it. Like they're working like off the barroom floor, trying to like piece something back together.
Shout out to Theo Pinson.
Yeah, shout out to Theo Pinson. You know, podcaster elite. So they're just like, you know, what's it been 3 years now, and they've been nonstop trying to, or Nico has been trying to put stuff together, and I think they've put something together, and we have some assets this summer, and that's not where we were at the end of last year. You remember?
Sure. Yeah.
we were scratching our heads, going, "What the hell is this team going to do?"
Yeah.
And now we're at the trade deadline, and we've got better basketball players all around, and you know, it feels like we're 2 actual players deep per position, if needed.
On paper, yeah.
Yeah, on paper.
I can see that.
I feel like we have like Green, Hardy, and Omax, I feel like are going to come right back up through like Hardy's second-year player, and he looks like a second-year player. He's probably a small shooting guard, not a point guard, and they're trying to create something out of him. I don't mind giving him a few years to figure it out, but I don't want to see him in the playoffs, and you know, that kind of stuff. Same with Omax, you know, maybe Omax starts hanging out with PJ Washington, and PJ gets him to slow down a step and observe before he just barrels through somebody. It's all about
that.
Getting good people around, and Dwight Powell being the new Theo Pinson. That's awesome. He's a rah guy for sure. And I guess the last thing is for the front office is they pulled the trigger on everything else that wasn't working. So if they give all this to Kidd and he can't call good timeouts and he can't make good substitutions and he can't do anything that he's supposed to do as a coach, send him back in.
So hard in the post game stuff where he's like, well, I don't know if they'll be ready on Saturday. Don't know if they'll be ready to play. And part of me is like, my man, it's basketball. These guys have played basketball their whole lives. Let's let them go play some basketball.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't know. I think if Kidd can't make it happen, Jared Dudley is sitting there. I mean, I don't know. There's options at coach. So
Sure.
if Kidd can't make something happen, everybody likes him. That's great. But maybe he takes Michael Finley's spot instead of the lead seat on the bench. But that's pretty much all I got, man. I'm just super happy to have NBA-sized players.
That's right. Big guys is nice.
Big guys is nice, and I love the fact that all these guys are under 25, just starting their prime. Nobody's stuck in this mediocrity of like, oh, this is what I am, so this is all you're going to get. Our oldest players are Maxey and THJ, and Kyrie, but he's Kyrie, so we just deal with that. But it's great stuff.
Well, man, thank you so much for joining.
Oh, no problem, man. Thanks for doing the shows.
Oh, of course. Talk to you soon. All right.
All right, later.
All right. So we got a lot of folks in here. We got 7 folks waiting to talk. I'm going to go in order as everybody appeared in the room. And that was Lila. She was barking outside and I really hope you guys didn't hear her on the show. She's just barking like a lunatic. All right. So we're going to bring everybody up. I'll probably try to, we'll try to keep everybody's comments relatively brief, but I'm not going to cut you off. Just be cognizant of the fact we got a lot of folks waiting. I want everybody to be able to have a chance to talk. Coming up next, my man, Henry, team captain Kyrie. What's going on tonight?
What going on, everybody? What's shaking?
Did you enjoy the game?
I did enjoy the game, but I want to start here. In your deepest of hearts, my guy, did you notice the hole that was missing from Grant Williams and Rashawn Holmes tonight? Did you miss him?
No, and I thought that Luka in particular played with a little more air about him. I was really worried of him being in New York City for 3 days. Like that just struck me as a bad combination. And he looked good. He looked light. He looked ready to go. And then in the post game, he seemed to be just very businesslike. It reminded me, frankly, of how LeBron works with guys, which I think sometimes is not the best for team morale. But I'm sorry, Grant. Grant got plenty of chances and he couldn't come through.
I did not miss either one of them in the slightest. I forgot he was on the team within 24 hours. It was absolutely amazing. One of the takeaways that I did think about today is I'm assuming PJ is going to start. So then you'll have PJ. So now you have a Luka Lively pairing with PJ to step out, space it, maybe a pick and pop free throw line of the 3. Then when Luka rests in the second quarter, then Kyrie's running the show by himself. Now you have Maxey at the 4, Gafford at the 5. So now you have Luka Lively lob threat, Kyrie Gafford lob threat, PJ spaces, and then now you have Maxey to space the floor. So there's really not too much of a drop-off once they go to the bench. Normally, Kyrie had to come in with fucking Dwight Powell and other shit. So now he actually has something to work with. So
different guys who can step up in case of injuries. I mean, one of my friends today was like, I think Derek Lively's a little injury prone. I'm like, he broke his nose.
Yeah, no, that was a freak. I'm not worried about that.
But it's nice though, because it feels there's some insurance going on here.
Yeah. Because now you basically 4 and 5, you have the roll man and the pop. in both situations with Gafford and Maxey. And then you now have Lively and PJ Washington. So that's also a nice thing. I am hoping Kid no longer has the excuse of fucking roster. So no more subliminals or passive aggressive shit. You now have a good roster. If you don't make this work, fam. Because I've been an avid get the kid the hell out of Dallas, like restraining order. I don't even want him in the port. I don't want him in DFW. I've been very adamant about that.
Yes, it's true.
But if he was playing 3D chess and he was just throwing out shit lineups to let management know in a passive aggressive way that we need to upgrade the roster, now we have. I want to see what he's going to do with it. There's no longer an excuse. What I did like today though was I saw back Luka Kyrie pick and rolls or Kai Luka pick and rolls within the short fade, which I have no idea why we haven't done that sooner, but I like that a lot.
That's the only thing I can think of, but it's Kyrie's a roll man is hilarious. Like,
he's so good.
What do you do? I mean, obviously you throw size at him, but it's like that's a terrifying roll man if he gets the ball in the short roll.
Oh yeah. And again, they did it for each other. And again, I have no idea why we didn't do this sooner. Why did this take so long for this to do? You genuinely can't do anything. This team is unguardable. Like,
I mean, if you get one more shooter on the floor with them, I particularly just those two. One more, like, because Josh Green was really good at spreading the floor tonight.
Yeah.
A little small, but it's just there's a lot there. That's why there's something with this team. I don't know how good they can be, but I know how good they feel whenever they're really cooking.
I'm going out on the limb and saying by the end of this. Okay, so everybody likes it. Not everybody, but Lucas stands like to try to meet Rod Brunson when he was here, as if he was the reason y'all had a 7th ranked defense with the one time y'all went to the Western Conference Finals. It wasn't. It was Dorian Finney-Smith. It was obviously Max playing at a high level, so on and so
Reggie.
forth.
It was Reggie.
Reggie was playing at a high level as well. I think we finished top 15, so probably like average, maybe 12th, somewhere in there, depending on how we got it. I'm going to go out on the limb and say Western Conference Finals.
Ooh. I'm
going to go out and put that out because I want the Thunder, but we'd have to be the AFC, so which means we'd have to play that extra game for the play-in. But sure. in I guess in La La Land, I would prefer the Thunder because they're inexperienced. The Wolves, boneheaded, inexperienced. As long as we don't play the Clippers or Denver in the first round, I think we get past the first round. And then we kind of go from there because when asses get tight, palms get sweaty, we know for a fact that these two rise to the occasion. Nobody wants to see us in a 7-game series, and I'm standing on that. Nobody wants to see Luka and Kai in a 7.
Because I think Kai play. I'm looking forward to seeing Kyrie play in a really, really big game again. The funny part about watching Luka tonight was just the sheer amount. Like the announcers were like trying to will the Knicks back into it, and then Luka would just come down and stick an absolutely that stretch of threes that him and Dante DiVincenzo were shooting back and forth was just so fun. But in the end of the day, I'm taking Luka to make those shots, and I would take Kyrie to make a lot of the same shots.
Dallas Mavericks fans, you are in for a treat. You've never seen locked in Kai. I mean, he had one bad stretch, and that was in the second round against Milwaukee his last year in Boston. Outside of that, he's pretty much been amazing in the playoffs, and Mavs fans get to see that the higher, the more pressurized the situation goes, the higher Kai rises to the occasion. And I'm looking forward to being back on the show and seeing you guys be like, Kyrie was fucking unconscious. Like, there's genuinely nothing you can do.
I love it. My man, thanks so much for hanging out. You got anything else for us?
Nah, that's it, my guy. Western Conference Finals, put it on paper, and that's it, man. I'll be back on the next one.
Bold. Talk soon.
See you, man.
All right, coming up next is my guy, Brandon. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Kirk? You doing all right?
I am doing okay. It is only 10:30. This feels great. It's not 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's a big difference, right?
Yeah. So what's up? What do you think?
Man, I like it, man. I mean, to me, I feel like long-term, well, not even long-term, but within the foreseeable future, Dallas has assets that they can, trade. Think about this. Worst case scenario, things go bad. It won't look like the 2012-2013 season because you remember,
I hated that season. That's the season that I started to get active on Twitter, and like I did delete a whole bunch of really mean tweets about Lamar Odom. He made me so mad, and I didn't really understand his struggles at the time. That was a horrible season.
That's the year Jason Terry left in. I mean, that roster was terrible, and someone can argue that it was probably one of the worst Mavs roster ever. And they couldn't get rid of people, and they were trying to bring in guys, and to play because they didn't have enough guards. They're bringing in, Mike James and everybody else. Now
Eric Fisher. Ugh.
They brought in Derek Fisher. It was bad. They had Roddy on the roster, OJ Mayo. It was bad. Well, OJ Mayo didn't play that year. He was hurt. I think he was just kind of like talent. But now, if you think about it, within the foreseeable future, in the worst case scenario, you have your fourth year, your last years of PJ Washington, Josh Green be up, Dwight Powell be off of his contract, Hardaway be off of his contract. So worst case scenario, they can let guys walk, and then if Josh Stem continue to play well, or if he does play well in the future, kind of progress him and Hardy, they'll have some trades. And that's kind of how, they could get back in the mix of things if the bottom falls out. So to me, I feel like they got good assets. It's for like their talent. They needed size. They needed size with, some age, some NBA age, some talent as well. So I feel like that, it's a win.
I like it. More talented guys is something we've called for on this podcast for forever. So it's nice to have that, or at least different guys. That's what I told my friend Matt Moore. He was like, I don't know if you're going to like Gafford. And I'm like, look, I'm looking forward to yelling about somebody new. I don't need Dwight Powell and Maxey anymore. It's been 6 years.
Yeah. Somebody brought up the point with Powell being the third big, hopefully he could be a mentor, even though he's not like super old, he could be a mentor and kind of, teach guys to be professional. Like, I don't know a lot about Powell, but it seems like for the most part, he seems kind of professional about his minutes and, just kind of the team culture. So, maybe he could be some type of voice or some type of, example for those guys. But Dallas, like I said before, they get Kentucky talent. Mashburn's good. They had Tony Delp. I don't know if you remember Tony Delp. They had Tony Delp. They had
one of the most random 50-point scorers in NBA history.
Anton Walker. They had Roger Rose. So Rondo, he wasn't a factor, but he was still a Kentucky guy. But they get good Kentucky guys. I kind of get excited because I kind of like watching Kentucky play. But hopefully he could be in that lineup of good Kentucky players. But and this is the last thing, Kirk. Think about this. Melo's a good passer, and when they played, it was exciting. I mean, they were doing exciting stuff. So Luka's a good passer too, but Dallas doesn't play exciting basketball like Charlotte did, and hopefully with him being there and having the ability to kind of play at a higher level, that it could bring some excitement to the games. Because with Dallas, you kind of know what to expect. Hopefully, him coming in and bringing what he had in Charlotte, that energy and that ability to play, at a different speed, it'll kind of, create an exciting culture. Because if you think about it, when Brandon Wright was there, it was kind of exciting, and we haven't seen anything exciting like that in a while. So, kind of a little bit of nostalgia, kind of revigorate what was going on back then.
It's a good time, man. I like it. Brandon is a real. Let's remember some guys. He's been a Mavs fan since. What do you think? How far back do you go?
Kirk, I go back to I tell you what, I'll go back to Dallas had one commercial on. It was the Empire carpet. You probably remember 1-888-2300 Empire.
Yeah.
They were not the only, but they were the commercial. So when they went to commercial break, they had the little short 5-minute news, and they had 1-888-2300 Empire. So I go back to basically Sam Perkins' rookie year. So pretty much around that time, maybe 86. I'll go back to that. Matter of fact, I go back to the year before.
Right as they started to get real good and fleece. Some fans don't know this. The Mavericks are directly responsible for the Stepien rule because they just kept taking draft picks from the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Remember they had Mark Price. He was a Dallas draft pick. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you, Kirk.
All right. Coming up next is Frank, but before I bring Frank up, I want to ask some folks if you can go ahead and like the stream while you're down there. If you haven't done it already, go ahead and hit subscribe. I would really appreciate it. We try to do the show as often as I can, which is after most games, particularly now that the season is in full gear. And if you're listening on an audio stream, please leave me a review. And I've my email's pretty easy to find. There's also we also have our team kind of email here. Where is it at? It is podmaverickpodcast@gmail.com. If you got any questions, and want to talk a little hoop with me. I try to answer most folks because I'm just a guy with a platform. Don't really know anything special. Just got lucky at the right time, and now here I am. So, all right, coming up next is my man Frank. Frank, welcome to the show. You're muted at the moment.
How you reading me?
Boom.
Cool. Thanks for having me, man. Hey,
Sure.
So fun day, man. Real fun day. Hard to get anything done at work. Just constant refresh, constant note. It's just a fun, chaotic day.
I turned in a work task almost 2 hours late because I just lost track of time. Like, whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Join the
trade
party.
deadline.
Yeah, join the party. Nah, but I really, it's just fun to see us making moves. You can see, I mean, they said that they've made a move every single year Luke has been on the team, and it sucks that it always happens around the trade deadline. Maybe they feel they can get the best value around that time. Otherwise, maybe they do it a little earlier in the, at the beginning of the year or even off season. But you can tell they care. I mean, a lot of people were on the Grant Williams train, man. I mean, it was exciting to think he was going to come in, and
I was too.
High expectations, maybe thinking he was going to come in and maybe like transform our defense or give us even an identity, since Bullock had left or since his talents had left in the season before. And then I'm gonna be all over the place, man. Sorry. I listened to 4 or 5 guys and I'm trying to not copy and paste what they just said. So
this is a celebratory podcast because we don't really, there's not enough to be, I sometimes come in like a wet blanket because I think about the big picture sometimes too much, but this is definitely a time where I think you should enjoy the fact that the Mavs did something. And if you're excited about it, that's good.
Yeah, everybody's putting on their GM caps today. Everybody's just trying to put so much weight in. Oh, I'm not sure it's a good idea that we're doing all these pick swaps and stuff. And I get it. I know everybody's trying to have some foresight, or maybe everybody's trying to protect themselves from being wrong about, it being a bad idea that we were trading all of our picks. But dude, when you have Luka, it doesn't matter. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You don't sit pat with the roster that's clearly not working. You make these moves and you just you deal with it later. I mean, last year in the offseason, nobody projected that you would have got 10,000 to 1 odds thinking that they would have been able to turn Bertans into Lively, and just what they've been able to, they've turned, trash into maybe not treasure, but they've definitely repurposed some of the negative assets that everybody was down about into at least something serviceable. Now you look at our roster, man, we've got 9-10 people under 26, 27 years old.
That's a big deal.
And everybody has some kind of value. We're not a team full of negative assets anymore. It's, say this crashes and burns, and at least going into the summer, we have guys we can do stuff with. So, we're making the most of it. Obviously, having to clean up from the previous regime, and then obviously Nico he's not batting 1,000. We know he's missed a few on the targets, but and then moving on, Jason Kidd in the presser just now was saying, hey, be patient. PJ may even come off the bench, yada, yada, yada. But I like our offense because, to me, it's almost, you can almost plug and play if you oversimplify it, because it's simple pick and roll with Luka, keep your head on the swivel, make the correct read, and it's not a bunch of like Golden State style offense where that is pretty complicated. There's a lot of off the ball movement. There's a lot of staggered screens everywhere. If you really watch the X's and O's, it's a pretty intricate offense. Whereas the Mavericks are, know your role. It's more surgical. It may not be as fun like the previous guy was saying. Charlotte's offense is really fun, or more surgical offense. We're gonna take everything the defense gives you. Luka's gonna make the right read 9 times out of 10, and you just got to, PJ Washington, for instance, there was a stat where he said he's like in a 80 percentile in like pick and roll, and then 80 percentile and pick and pop, and doing something positive with, I can't remember the exact stat, but he is very strong in the pick and roll. So I think the ceiling has been raised this year with Luka, dude. Nobody saw us going in the Western Conference. He's grown, his game has matured. You see the way he dissects double teams. You put more talent on the floor. I mean, I agree with the other guy. Western Conference is probably a little bullish, but I think we're a lock for the playoffs now. I'll say that.
I love it. Frank, thanks so much, man.
See ya.
All right. Coming up next is my man Krishna. Krishna, You got 7 people behind you. I'm gonna put that in your court. So because you're good at soliloquizing. What are you thinking?
I'm doing good. How are you, Kirk?
I am great.
It's been far too long.
It has been. I wondered where you've been, but then again, I haven't been doing these, so it's like I realize that if I want folks to come, I need to do these more regularly.
No,
That's my
it's
fault.
okay. I mean, you've been busy. Everyone's been busy. Honestly, I'm happier. I got rid of Twitter off. Like, I took it off my phone.
It's good.
and
Yeah, it can be good to do that.
It's good. It's nice. Now, like, I have a barrier. So, like, if I have to do it, I have to go on my computer. And I'm like, do I really want to do this on my computer?
One extra step. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God. But no, it's good. I'll talk about the game. I think it was good. You know, looking at that, that's a depressing bench. It reminds me of, I want to say it was the Lakers, where they literally had one player on the bench. I remember this. And I actually think it was Chris Kaman on the Mavs. But that was bad. But, you know, the Knicks are what they are. They're just a team that, you know, Thibodeau like runs players into the ground. And so they just give their effort. But solid wins. It's been surprising. I think like the stat was we hadn't had a 3-game road trip, like a winning 3 games in a row on a road trip with wins since 2019.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible, but you know, that's fine. You know, whatever the circumstances, you needed to get wins at this point, especially with injuries going on. So that's all good. And in terms of the trade, I'll be honest, I was a little shocked. I was kind of with you, and I thought that the team wasn't really going to make a trade just because I thought they were going to hold on to the pick, move into the summer with 3. And I don't know. I like both of them. I understand. Like, more people are positive on the Gafford one, so I'll talk about that more. I think it's a solid pickup. He's 26. He's a pretty good center. I don't think he has much more of a ceiling. I don't think he's going to become any better than he already is in terms of adding a lot more to his offensive game. Like, he's literally a dunking like center. Like, he's a rim running center. Like, that's all he's going to be, really. But that's fine. Like, that's what you want in your backup center. And he's a solid defensive center. I think his rebounding could be better, but if you play him with another big, I don't think that's a huge issue. Like, the issue we've had is
I want to see it at least.
Yeah, the issue is if Lively's your only big, it's hard. If
Sure.
Maxey's your only big, it's nearly impossible. If Dwight's now you have the possibility of at least putting someone who's going to help, right? Not necessarily going to always get it. 25, right? That correction. So yeah, I mean, both the guys are 25. I think PJ is also 25, which helps. But it was a solid pickup. I don't think it's anything big. And what it does is it gives insurance for Lively. Lively's had obviously the injuries, I think, are more unlucky than anything, right? But it also gives him insurance in terms of like when you're playing that many minutes, 40 minutes a game, like it's almost inevitable you're going to have games where you just pick up 5 fouls, 3 fouls.
Yeah.
We've been, honestly, when he's played, we've been very lucky that that's not happened as much as it had. I think, has he fouled out at any point this season? I cannot recollect.
I don't think he has. Maybe once, maybe twice, but not enough to where it's not where it's become a thing.
Yeah, I think he's gotten close. I remember, I think it was the OKC game where he had like 5. Like, he's gotten very close with 5. Yeah. So that's good. I think that's a positive. And like you said, like it's the roster is just now taller. Like, it's more balanced where you have guys that are, you know, obviously shorter, but you have guys that are much taller now. So yeah, Gafford trade, it's fine. I get it. The swap, most people don't like it. I think it's fine. Like, I was expecting something like that to happen. In terms of the PJ Washington trade, I think it was smarter that you went with Grant and Seth, 2 guys who are really not contributing, really. That's just the truth, you know, the harsh truth, unfortunately. And yes, you had to move a first, and it's top 2 protected, all of that. But you consider what PJ is on in terms of a contract, like a pretty solid $14 million contract for 4 years. Like, theoretically, the cap increases in that time. And then what it also does is if you need to move off of him, $14 million in a cap that increases is not the worst thing to move off of for a guy who at the end of that contract would be 29. So I don't think it's the worst thing, but what it also does is it just gives you a legitimate 4. Like, it feels like that's the the spot we've been missing is I feel like we've had decent wing players, even like Derek Jones Jr. is fine there. Even Dante like is serviceable playing as a 3, but it feels like we've never had.
Well, I think Dante's knee might be more messed up than we know. I think that's part of it. I think
so too. But I just like I didn't think the 3 was as big a problem. Like I felt like Derek is there, and then if you absolutely need to, I think Omax can be there. I think it'll be next season where Omax still keeps improving. It's a little harsh. Like I think we don't necessarily compare him to Derek Lively, but it's hard. I'm sure he wants to be playing, but I'm positive about the idea that this is just a learning experience for him, and I think he can get better. But I think it's good. I think overall good trades. I get the concerns, trading a first, like what do we have? But you still have 2 firsts going into the summer. You still have 4 seconds, which is good. And I think you have a group of players, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I think now you have 10 players under 26. Like I don't think I was ever expecting that at any point. In the offseason, we were talking about I think I mentioned we had like 5 players that were younger than Luka. Now you have a lot more guys who are younger than Luka, which is something that I didn't really expect. So, going into the offseason, we'll see. I don't know if the team is necessarily going to make moves in the offseason.
We'll worry about that later.
Yeah, and really for me, I think the rest of the season is just about, first of all, getting healthy. Can you get like Derek Jones, really Derek Lively healthy? Dante, we'll see what happens, and then building a coherent system and chemistry with these guys, specifically on the defensive side of the floor. I'm not that worried about the offense for this team. I've really never been worried about the offense for this team. It's about how do you raise the floor of your defensive performance so that you're not, you don't have to score 140 points if you don't need to, right? And so that's where I'm a little more positive. You're just bringing in guys who have a baseline for their defense. They can perform well on defense. I think PJ less so than Gafford, but you have an ability to do that. And it's in a way, it's kind of you're trying to replicate, right? Like that 22 run, but you're doing it with way more players and way more versatility.
Sure.
I never felt like ultimately the roster is like the biggest issue. I think I talked about it in the preseason. I still think coaching is always going to be the biggest issue, but ultimately, until it becomes really toxic, where Luka and Kyrie are kind of the ones who are initiating, that they don't want Kid as their coach. I think it's going to be Kid, but I think these marginal improvements to the roster are still important because it felt like for so long this team has been stuck in the same kind of roster, in the same players year over year. And it felt like, the team was not felt like it was. The team was trying to convince you that, it's a new season, like it's going to get better. And really what was getting better was Luka. Luka was really the only tangible thing that was getting better. Well, the rest of the roster was aging. And so I get it. It's a lot of turnover. And I think from a national media perspective, they look at all this stuff and they go like, this is chaotic. Like, why are they making these moves? But it's not like there was much to start with anyways. And the fact that there has been much roster turnover, I think is better now than never. Right. And
that's right.
Everyone, there's always going to be speculation. Like Luka is going to leave, but I would have rather see the team at least try, make attempts and balance out going for it and protecting some things, it feels like a balanced approach to everything. It doesn't feel like they're going all in where they're just trading everything, right? We're almost like a Lakers situation, but it doesn't feel like, planned powder where they're just not doing anything and they're sitting on it. And it's kind of a balanced act, but we'll see how it goes. OKC will probably be tough. I think Kid was saying like they may not play on Saturday, but again, it's like it's going to be a process. You have to integrate these guys in, but I'm excited. I'm more excited about this roster now. It feels like a lot more balanced than anything, and hopefully it's fun. Like the most important thing is it's fun, and I think the West, at least at the bottom, is competitive enough that it's good the Mavs at least have been winning some games. I think it would have been disastrous if we hadn't won anything in this time, and you're at least in striking distance of being out of the play-in, which I think would be great.
That would be nice.
It would be
nice. Thank you so much for hanging out once again.
Absolutely. Take care, Kirk.
All right. Talk soon, Krishna. All right. Coming up next is Raphael. Raphael, what's going on, man? Hit the unmute button.
Hi, Kirk. How are you doing, guys?
Good.
Thank you for having me. First time here. Everybody wants to talk about the trade deadline, but I think we have to talk about that Luka pass. The thing was amazing, fucking amazing.
It's so funny you mentioned
Bro.
that because while Krishna was talking, I was clicking through and it came across the timeline again, and I just sat there and watched it like 6 times in a row. I know a couple people were telling me that he's had better passes this year, and I just don't agree. That was the craziest
This
thing I've
season, I
seen.
just can't remember a single one like that. I just don't. I think it was a fun game. The first half, Luka was not. I'm gonna win this game by myself. So everyone was getting touches. Josh Green was some nice finish. Derrick Jones Jr. had a nice game. I think it's good when Luka doesn't go superhero because we can see what we can do, the looks we can have. So, but it was a fun game until he decides, no, that's over. I'm gonna make his 6-7 threes in front of these guys and fun game.
I had a great time. Yeah.
About the trade deadline, I think Gafford, the biggest thing is the regular season when we get crushed by these terrible bigs of some Dwop Reeds putting 20 points on the Mavs. What the fuck? I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
It seems like every team has a better big. It's just because I have playing power and Maxi. And I think I don't know if he's going to make such impact in coming the playoffs. He's probably going to play like 15, 20. Max will play a lot of 5 probably. But I think he really helps. And it's not like we had a guarantee playoffs.
It's different because at that point you're making the choice to play Maxi as opposed to having to play Maxi.
He even mentioned we're gonna reduce max minutes, and that's it. Max always broke down at some point, and we've been asking him to do too much in the last couple of seasons. And he had amazing games. Yes, the Knicks bench, but he was amazing. Had 4 blocks. They were not finishing anything in the ring against him, and it was different. When you put power and Josh Hart is finished the ring, Hart is things. So I think Max with a reduced role will be a big thing for us in the playoffs and going to the regular season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, man, what else you got for us?
Just about PJ, I was reading something John Holliver, right? It's kind of Debbie Downer sometimes, but I get him.
He never likes any of the Mavs moves.
He's that guy. But he said about the idea of PJ Washington, and I kind of agree. He wants to do everything, but doesn't do anything pretty well. But I think it's a high ceiling move because I don't think he's gonna be terrible. But if everything goes right, this can be like the Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets kind of move. A guy out of nowhere, he fits, he does the little things we need, and this can be awesome. I think it raises the ceiling. I think we can beat someone in the first round of playoffs right now. That's
right.
And that's it. Just one crazy prediction. If these whole things work, if we're going on a run to finish the season, Luka is probably the favorite to win the MVP. With Embiid. Imagine Mavs number 4, 5.
If it's number 4, I think Luka could get there. But I think right now, interestingly enough, SGA has kind of an inside track just because they're such a high seed. But I like that take. It's a good one.
Yeah. Thanks,
all right, man. Talk soon. Mm-hmm. Raphael joining us. That was great. Coming up next is Jacob. Jacob, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, Kirk. Can you hear me? You got me?
I can. You sound good.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's dare I say the vibes are back?
We'll see. They looked different. They felt different. And I wasn't even paying that close attention to the game, and it felt different.
It kind of reminds me of when we traded for Kyrie last year, and then we won that game in Utah. So that's why I'm like, a little bit hesitant to say that the vibes are back. But it felt like we were running the West on that day last year. But that's because we just wanted to kind of meme it to reality. But no, yeah, I mean, we won a game that we should have against a hospital team. So we weren't doing that against the the Cavs, the Grizzlies. There's another loss in there that I'm forgetting, but
Yeah.
finally took care of business against the Hospital Knicks, and especially when Hartenstein went down. I mean, even with DiVincenzo and Josh Hart going off from 3, just to be able to lead tonight's game wire to wire. Tell you what, it was an awesome feeling. But I mean, as far as the trades go, I mean, Gafford just like, I'm not saying like he moves the needle like in a way that's like I guess Vanderbilt last year maybe did for the Lakers, the Vanderbilt trade, and when they all shuffled the roster.
Yes.
Around the Lakers did, and they went to the West Finals last year. But to the last guy's point, saying about reducing Maxi's minutes like this, and moving Maxi to the 4, it sounds like it seems like we have like a legit 10-man rotation, which I go back to even just last year and when we were all bitching about the center rotation last year and how just thin it was and how we never do anything about it. And I give Nico his credit. And I really wanted Grant to work out. Seems like a cool dude, I guess. Just didn't. Right, we were able to get off his contract, right that wrong pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, PJ Walker. I mean, I admittedly haven't watched a ton of Charlotte. I don't think anyone has. If you're not
I'm not going to have firm takes for at least a couple weeks.
Right. But I think we generally have an idea that okay, you can kind of trust him to maybe put the ball on the floor, get a shot off in the mid range, rebound a little bit. We think he's going to start, right? I mean. So
I'm not sure. I bet Kid tries a lot of different stuff. I really do, because it's like, do you send Josh Green to the bench? It's the Mavericks played so many different starting lineups. Why not some more?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess I figure that at some point, maybe I don't know, let's say game 1 of the playoffs. Should we get that far? Luka, Kyrie, Josh, PJ, Lively. I would write. I mean. Maybe. We'll see. So, but yeah, I heard you were talking, Josh. You and Josh were talking earlier about Dinwiddie.
I mean, Josh might have kind of talked me into him. I don't know. He's such a mercurial guy. When things are going well, he's definitely a dude you want on your team. When they're not, it's like, all right, he was just a bit much for me.
Yeah, he is a little bit of a crypto man. Is a little bit of an interesting dude, I guess. But I never forget when he baptized Gobert on TV.
That was incredible. That was that's a good moment. That's a great callback.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just wanting to relive that run so bad. But I mean, if Exum's not going to be healthy, and I don't, we're prognosticating about his knees, which is weird because, before he went over to Europe, he couldn't stay healthy ever, right? But he goes over to Europe and he's healthy all the time.
Yep.
And then he comes back and all of a sudden the knee issues are popping up again.
Right.
It's weird. I mean, in a perfect world, we don't need.
I think it's number of games. I do. I think it's number of games and minutes and frequency. That stuff is tough.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know about I'm not a doctor, but I mean, I googled knee bursitis, and it said like 2, 3, 4 weeks somewhere in there, and that was after he his foot get hurt or something.
He had something with the plantar, like the tendon that runs down the middle of your foot. So
yeah, no, that's annoying, but yeah, I mean, if we can't. I mean, if we're not going to be able to rely on Exum, I mean, I guess I just don't really see the risk.
Yeah.
Of Dinwiddie, really. But
maybe y'all are right. Maybe I'm just being a ninny. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, what about Daniel House? I mean,
like him too. I shouldn't have such strong opinions on guys that aren't going to have tons of minutes. I get that sometimes.
But the guy, man, that really just I feel like is in an awkward spot is Tim, because I know by and large the fan base wanted to see him go. is he a winning player? And hey, I mean, the full Tim Hardaway Jr. experience was in full bloom tonight when he knocked down that impossible shot from the corner, and he comes right back and he throws up a heat check, which I don't know why Tim feels the need to throw up a heat check whenever he makes one shot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get that you're a microwave and he's basically our Cam Thomas, but like it's like he can really shoot you out of games, but then he'll come right back and just make a Tim is low key the funniest player in the league.
Oh yeah, he just says he has a memory of a goldfish. He just does a crazy thing, and yeah.
So, I was actually surprised to see Hardy survive the deadline.
He just doesn't make enough money to move.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there was something that we could have done for Wiggins, with the Bertans exception, Tim, and maybe something there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. But it's the vibes feel like they could be back. I mean, I'm just
glad,
saying, especially if Dinwiddie comes back. I mean, I won't say they're immaculate because that was Brunson's whole thing. But I mean, hey. If we just all I'm saying is the Thunder better not let us win on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna get so ignorant, and then the Wizards and the Spurs, we're going 6-game win streak into the All-Star break. We're gonna have
thank
big
you so
heads.
much. Well, that's what I'm hoping for. Just a 6-game win streak and All-Star break would be great. You wouldn't be able to tell me anything all week. It'd be great.
Yep.
Well, hey man, thanks for popping in. All right.
Yeah. Have a good one.
All right. Coming up next is David. David, welcome back. What's going on?
Hey, Kirk. Just running errands tonight, grabbing some medicine for the little one. You know how it is.
Sorry to hear that. I hope it's all right.
Just a little nothing. Yeah, it'll be fine. But now I'm pulled over, and I just had to say I wanted to celebrate joining the party. It's always fun kicking the shit out of the Knicks. So I don't care if they're injured, hurt. Their fans are insane. After being at a game a few years ago at MSG. So it's always fun to watch them go home and swallow a bucket of tears. So
what do you got? We got 6 more people, and my wife is giving me the stink eye. So
I know how that feels. I'll go to something that so I've been calling in and saying, we got to get bigger, and we got bigger today. So that was huge. I'm loving this 3-game win streak. I'll go to a conversation I was having with a friend of mine during all the trade stuff. And, I think our ceiling is the second round potentially this year, just because of the, gelling in mid-season is always tough. I think this group of players, possibly, if they pan out like we expect, we could hit another level next year, especially if we're healthy. But first round matchups, if we are, 6th or 7th, essentially we're past the play-in the first round. Who can we take that's in the top 4 right now? And I'm presuming Phoenix stays at 5.
I don't know, man. I don't feel good about any of them. I really it's like, which kind of pain am I looking forward to in that particular day? I think the Wolves would probably be the most testy because I think you could make half that team collapse in the moment. Probably followed by the Thunder, and then Denver would be the team I wouldn't want to play second most, and then I don't want to play the Clippers. No, thank you.
That's like exactly what I said. We're on the same page. My friend was thinking the Timberwolves would be a tough out, but I think we own Rudy Gobert. Jason Kidd's already carved him up once.
They just don't. Fouls get called differently. In the Wolves whole thing is they just foul you a lot. I think the Mavericks can flat out outscore them because I don't think the Wolves have very good offense, but. That would be what would worry me is like it would become kind of a bitch fest, and that doesn't interest me.
That's fair. And then I think the Thunder are just, I think it takes a little bit more playoff experience to be really ready. And the Mavericks, I think, would be a little bit of a bad matchup for them in a first round. I think they're going to want, yeah.
My problem with the Thunder is you don't know what you don't know, meaning so many of those guys are so young and so inexperienced that I don't know if you know to be scared. Does that make sense? Like, there's an interesting conversation going on in the chat about SGA, and like SGA gets all the foul calls because he doesn't complain. He plays unbelievable defense and just orchestrates that team. They're smaller though. The Mavericks and them would kind of be I think it'd be a fun matchup, but they just have the Mavericks have more horses now, but the Thunder have a lot of guys. So that's where I settle with them.
I see that.
And we play them next game, so we're gonna get a front row view of what we think of them pretty soon.
I can't wait. Look, either 6-0 or even 5-1 in this last bout of games, I will punch that ticket. That's 3 more games we got to win, but everything seems winnable now. Where I feel like I called you after that Bucks loss, and I was like ready to go. Jump off a bridge over at Margaret Hunt. Last thing I'm just going to say real quick, though, I think with these guys that we got with Washington and Dick Gibbons or Daniel Gafford. There we go. I figured it out. The fact that we actually have our first real tandem center rotation since like 2011 with Hayward and Tyson. To me, this feels like a real center rotation. I can't wait to see him play. I think I've seen him play once before when the Wizards are in town. But it also, to me, probably marks the end of the pick and roll with Dwight Powell, where he doesn't know to be ready for a pass when he gets wide open. So watching him flail against God's grand design when he's underneath the basket and like lose his shit is I love the guy. He works extra hard as best he can. But there's little T-Rex arms trying to grab passes that float a little bit or trying to make the adjustment. I don't think we have to see that at the 5 anymore, which just makes me happy. And I appreciate that the guy sets really hard screens, but you got to be able to do something with it if you do set a hard screen. So I can't wait to see. I thought your assessment earlier with Josh was perfect. That this guy is another Lively-esque type above the rim player, and that's what the Mavericks love for their floor spacing and their attack plan with Luka. And having that rim rolling threat is just going to keep our offense humming. When last year it just bogged down and everyone just stood around with their hand up their ass. So can't wait.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out and waiting to talk. All right.
All right. Have a good night, Kirk. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Coming up next is longtime show joiner Chris, who stayed up extra late for us. What's up, man?
Yeah. Sorry if you saw me in the background yawning. Showed up late to this podcast feed. But I haven't been getting on to these party lives, but I've been watching the show. Of course,
thanks so much.
YouTube Premium. I still watch it. A loyal listener. But I wrote down some of the stuff. I'm kind of rusty, so I have to write down some of the stuff I was talking about. How many draft picks do we have left to like first round picks? Do we have to
2025, but they have to move on from the next one, 2031, and then they have 4 second rounders. I'm not sure what years.
And
I want to say it's
so we have we're going to use this year's OKC second round pick. Is that what we're getting, or
this year we're getting? I don't know which one. I don't care right now. My brain's too tired.
I get you. We got to focus on.
But we do have a second round pick this draft. Yes.
Okay. Honestly, I feel like with these moves that we're the third best team in the West, even over the Thunder. And I know I sound crazy like that, but hey, do I sound like a nut to like want to play the Clippers in the playoffs?
Yes. All right, have you looked at Kawhi's numbers? Have you looked at Kawhi's numbers though?
If we play them in the second round, though, dude, I'm not hoping for it.
He's shooting 50% from 3 over like the last 30 games.
Oh shit!
He is playing better basketball than he's ever played before. He's a death machine.
They've consistently been on the floor. I don't think they've really missed many games at all. So
no, and it makes you wonder whether the dude was ever injured at all. It's crazy.
Yeah. Or you get to the playoffs. If they get to the second round, is he going to run? Is he going to run into an injury? You never hope for anybody to get injured.
Sure.
But, I don't know. I just want that revenge, man. I was at that game.
Oh, I get it.
21, and I'm like, I feel like it would get a little vindication for this team.
They also happen to be better because I just don't know how you defend them and to a certain extent.
Yeah, but yeah, it's gonna be nice to not have, I mean, Dwight Powell's gonna be really at the end of the bench now because he's like the fourth center on the team right now, right?
Yeah.
So you got Lively and Gafford was a player that a couple of years ago I was even talking about, even on this show. I was like, what about a guy like Daniel Gafford?
Yep.
Like, he would be nice. I'm glad they got somebody. There wasn't really a big talent pool anyway available today anyway. So I really feel like the Knicks and the Mavs had the best trade day, really. So, I mean, I felt like we've improved, and we needed a backup center. We got a backup center. We needed a wing. We got a wing. So, and like the other guy, I don't really know much about PJ Washington because the only time I watch the Hornets play is when they play the Mavs. And I don't really remember him.
Right. He wasn't an against the Mavs all-star is what I will say. So,
in your opinion, real quick, lastly, do you think that this team currently constructed, as long as they stay healthy, is better than the 22 Mavs?
I mean, it's deeper. Let's see him play. Let's talk probably during the trade deadline. Let's get like 2 to 3 games and we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll let you go. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season and playoffs. Hopefully now we won't be a play-in team. So
for sure, man. Thanks so much, man. Talk soon.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, coming up next is Leo. Leo, what's up, dude?
Hi, Mr. Kirk. Is the mic okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
All right, just some quick hitters. Is there a specific kind of defense or offense you're looking for the Mavs to run now that they have more size at more positions?
No, but I would like to see, one of the things that Luka does is he finds something he likes and he kind of beats the hell out of it. And I would like to see the Mavericks attempt to experiment more. That's all.
And
Just with different lineups,
Okay. And the second one, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this one. Do you know if any of the Mavs coaches have a specific kind of interest or like anchor in Josh Green? Because the one game I went to, the Milwaukee game, like during every like pause of play, like Josh would always go over talking to Sweeney or Kid, like quite literally every time someone was shooting a free throw or there was a timeout.
I'm not sure. Josh Green's a tough one for me because I'm so mean about him that sometimes I analyze him. Other times I don't pay attention at all.
Okay. All right. Hope you have a good
night. That's a good insight though. Like paying attention. You pay attention to a lot of stuff, Leo. I think that's good.
All right. You have a good night, Mr. Kirk.
All right. Talk soon. All right. Coming up next is Simon. Hey, Simon. What's up?
Kirk, man, it's been a while since I've talked to you. It's a lot's happened, and I have a long list of stuff I want to talk about, but I know it's late, so we only got so much time. So I guess we'll start with the trade deadline. It looks like most of the Mavs fandom is happy with the results of it, which I think they should be. On a funny, you used to live in Northern Virginia, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So are you familiar with Tyson's Mall?
Yes.
Yeah. So funny story on a personal note. I was Christmas shopping there.
Risky.
You can imagine. And I run into, of all people, Daniel Gafford. He looked like he was kind of stoned, but
large human.
Yeah, he was very large. I was like, he's wearing a gray sweatsuit. I'm like, that guy looks familiar. Oh, shit,
that's funny.
That's Daniel Gafford. Yeah, but obviously living up here, I watch a lot of Wizards games, unfortunately. But I think Gafford was like, I talk to my dad a lot about basketball, but he's like one of the few guys in the Wizards. I'm like, well, shit, if he was on a team that actually was playing for something, he could help them because he does have a definable skill set that can help a team, which is he should just roll to the rim and dunk the hell out of the ball.
Right.
And like, I mean, that's like, there's all, he's top. I think he's, Lively is top 10 in the league in dunks. And I think Gafford is also top 10 in the league in dunks. And I know you correctly have always, one of your complaints about the Mavs has been they just lack size and they just lack athleticism and they just lack what other NBA teams have. But that, now you go to a center rotation with Lively and Gafford, and all of a sudden, when Luka turns the corner on a pick and roll, it's a lot more threatening. PJ Washington, I don't really have a take on. He seems like a kind of a how do you say it? He fits the bill. He's 6'9". He does a little bit of this and a little bit of that. He posts up a little. He shoots the three. He's not shooting it great this year. I looked at the stats. But obviously with the looks that Luka creates, he seems to raise a lot of people's 3-point percentages when
That's
they
true.
when they share
Because
the court.
they're getting
when
more
they
open shots. Yeah, that's the hope.
Exactly. When they share the court with him, but again, he's 6'9". Like he's like I think somebody else said earlier, he's like a legit power forward, at least in today's NBA. He's not an Oakley or anything like that, but he's
Right.
in the the parlance of the modern NBA. He is a power forward, which is something that they didn't. I mean, they were playing. It really is kind of crazy to think about how 2 years ago they made the conference finals and their two quote unquote forwards were Reggie and Dorian.
Yep.
I mean, that's like that is wild to think about. What else, man? Like I said, it's been a while.
That's all right.
The game tonight. I mean, they're not really much to glean off it. Obviously,
Give me let's take a win and get out of Dodge.
Yeah, take a win and get out of Dodge. But I got to give the Knicks credit because I mean they were extremely shorthanded. They obviously just made the trade, so they were missing the rotation pieces from that. And Brunson wasn't playing, Randall wasn't playing, Anunoby wasn't playing. But I mean DiVincenzo. I mean I don't know what the heck. I mean, I was like, damn, I might take him.
Dante's been on a run. Go look at his box score. His recent box scores.
Yeah, I have, and I saw the box scores. I was like, well, I don't know where that came from, but then I watched him tonight. The dude just like he moves well. He's got a lot of confidence. Every shot, especially the threes. I mean, like they showed on the broadcast, he's taking 14 threes a game over his last 5 or 6 games, but every three he takes looks like it's he's on balance, and he's got a solid base. I mean, it was a fun game. The Mavs were never really threatened, which is great. I mean, you got to take the wins when you can get them, and move on to the next. And last thing, I guess, before I go, I waited all night for you after Luka scored 73 because I really wanted to talk a little bit about that. Man,
that one sucked. I was in the hospital.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. But there were I don't know if you I'm sure you've watched it since then. There was in the third quarter, he shot it was like a falling out of bounds, baseline shot going to his right.
Who's this?
Luka.
Okay.
Luka in the Atlanta game where he's and which is a shot that he never shoots. He did it's not like I don't think it's something that he works on, but he just in that game he just pulled it out of it's like a Kawhi Leonard or Kobe type of shot, or Jordan. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really do that because he doesn't shoot like the traditional jump shot.
Yeah, he takes like high value shots, but not high but he doesn't take low. He tries not to take too many low efficiency shots unless it's like a really far away three.
Correct. Well, I mean, he does have that little when he does the step back, the mid-range step back going to his left on the left side off the glass. It seems like he makes it every time. He's gotten very comfortable with that, and that's like one of the ways that his game has grown. Because his first, I honestly, like a week ago, I remember I watched like his the series versus the Clippers in the bubble, and he didn't take anything but layups and threes. It was like 75% layups and 25% threes, but it was amazing how much he was getting to the rim. I mean,
right.
It was just uncanny, and I think I came on earlier in the year and I was like a little bit frustrated with like how sometimes he just seems like he just doesn't attack enough, and you kind of talked me off of it a little bit. It's like, well, he's just he's saving himself. And I think especially with the fact that he's got a broken nose or whatever, he's probably trying not to get hit too much. Thank God tonight the 3 balls start falling in the second half, and and it'll look good. Final numbers are good. Mavs got to win. They got Oklahoma City coming up. That's going to be a great game. Excited to watch it, and it's great to talk to you, Kirk. I can't wait to do it again soon.
Thanks for hanging out, man. Talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, coming up last but not least is Mr. Green, who looks like he is in a field. Mr. Green, are you hanging out? Are you there? You going to talk to us? Sorry, when we had such a long, a lot of people that wanted to talk tonight. Makes it a little bit tough to get through everybody, but we tried. Missed my man Rolo, but just a few minutes. He just messaged me and said he had to go to bed. Mr. Green, are you there? Okay. Well, I'm going to talk for a few seconds more. Oh, yep. I'm going to talk for a few seconds more here. We're going to close out. Thanks for hanging out. Josh Bowe and I will be back on Saturday. Don't know when because it's an early game. That 2 p.m. start time local is very different, but we'll try to figure out something. Appreciate your support. Thanks for hanging out. We will talk soon. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Go Mavs.